Hey guys, it's Shane here from Tank Hunter Miniatures, and today I want to talk about the Custodes. Now with the codex just recently out, I finally got a chance to read through it and really understand what we can do with it in making a very very tank heavy list. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot, because there's been a lot of talk about this, how it's not that great a codex. A lot of people see it as a nerf, and to an extent it is, but more crucially, it very much is if you want to bring a lot of tanks, even the dreads. There isn't a lot to support them. So let's just break this down. So just like with the Tau Codex, there was a huge push for everyone to buy the new Croup models. So that was a big focus of the Codex. Look at that detachment. That's where it got the serious sort of attention. It's very similar in this one. They really want you to get Sisters of Silence. And it's not a bad thing, because I really like the Sisters of Silence. I used to have a bunch of models of them, and they were fun. But it's just really odd how that's sort of half the focus. Because you've got the 4 detachments. One is the Null Maiden, that's just Sisters of Silence. Okay, have one. Out of the 4 though, there's only 3 others. The others is Talons, which is bring a mix of Sisters and Custodes. So, that's very infantry heavy as well. Just bring the infantry. The Auric Champions, that's just characters based. That's if you want a hero hammer your way through a match, which they have a lot of cool heroes. It's a very old edition where you could just bring a bunch of heroes and they would carry your team. 3 Space Marine captains with jetpacks, that sort of deal. That's gone, so it makes sense for the Custodes to keep that sort of ability though. So the only one you can really use here, if you want to bring a lot of tanks that will actually see some benefit, is the Shield Host. Now the thing with the Shield Host is, it's not as good as it used to be. Because before you had the 4-up Feel No Pain, and that was just always there, and that was against Mortal Wounds. And as you see in my last tournament match, where I was Mortal Wounds to death by Thousand Suns against the Necrons, it's something definitely I'm going to have to put a lot more focus in watching out for. So that was good. So now they have the Martial Mastery, which of course is it's basically calling a mini war. It's only against close combat, critical hits of 5s, and you get an extra rend on your weapons, so that doesn't really help your shooting. And that's really where the army sort of falls apart. It's all close range, it's all close combat, close shooting, nothing's really long range. And it's not that bad a thing if you're fast and you can get up there. But if you do want to bring something that has long range shooting, you do want to bring these tanks, they're just sort of on their own. You're not going to get them helped or supported by many stratagems or character units. There's no tech marines, there's no anything like that. So of the new strats, the only ones you can really use is the old one where you get the Mortal Wound save, the Avenge the Fallen still the same, which you can use for a tank, but it's just going to give it close combat attacks. It's not that useful. The multi-potentiality, fall back and shoot and charge, that's really good. That's super important if you don't have that many units. You always need to be doing something effective with them. That's going to come in handy a lot. The Archotech munitions, see, that's good. That gives you sustained or lethal shooting. That's going to come in handy because, as we'll go through with the actual tank choice, there isn't a lot of shots. They don't have a lot of numbers, not a lot of volume of shooting for these weapons, so that's going to be good. So of course, they lost the Martial Katard that you could have the neg 1 to be hit. That would be really useful here. That would be fantastic in an all tank army or all vehicle army. That would really help protect it. So that's gone. Now you can only use it as a strat, and that stratagems for infantry only. So you're less able to defend now than you were before, and the Vigilance Eternal to sticking an objective, that's also stuck to battle line now. I guess people were abusing it with jet bikes or something they can use fast. So you can't use that. So that's, again, these things are all focused on bring infantry. It's very much an infantry heavy army. But that being said, the tanks are really good. But of course that's their other problem. They're all Forge World, and Games Workshop really doesn't want to focus on Forge World units getting buffed or considered in a codex. They don't want you to acknowledge they really exist. But unlike the other codexes that are losing their Forge World options, these ones are sticking around because, of course, they're still available in like Heresy, so it's one of those compatible for two system sort of deals. Very rare, but they do exist. So let's look at the tanks we have available. We have the good old Land Raider. Now, it's pretty much the same as any other Land Raider, minus the fact that this one hits on a 2+ because it's a trained custodian. It's, you know, very veteran pilot and shooters that are commanding it. So this is really helpful to have because, yeah, having the las cannons that's really reliable and hitting is really going to help because, yeah, nothing else is really 48 inches. Most of the bikes and stuff, they have missile launchers, like one shot. It's not going to help that much taking out something large. So having a land rate is really going to be important for not only if you want to go this tank heavy list, but if you need some support for your Custodes in general. Like, this is something that, even though it's just a basic Land Raider, there's nothing special about it that, you know, that separates it from most Space Marine Legions. It's still important. You're not going to get the same equivalent with much else. So if you were staying away from Forge World products, this would be it. That's all you get. The Land Raider, and you also get the Rhino, but of course you got to bring sisters with that. So you're bringing Shield Host, no sisters, you're not bringing any Rhinos as well. So to do this, you then have to use the Forge World option, starting with the Palace Grav Attack. Now this is a nice little skimmer, and fun enough, it's a 2+ save, 5-up invuln as well, which they all have. They all have hitting on 2's base, and they have the 2-up save. So these are tough, these are accurate, you know, they're strong units. But again, with this guy, he's only got one weapon, the Blaze Cannon. It's not really a lot of shots. Like, yeah, it's a land speeder equivalent, just a tougher one and more skilled at that. But for what you invest, you really want it to be doing a lot more. Because the Blaze Cannon is good, but it's only good against light infantry. It's not really going to be taking out, like, if everything hit, everything wounded, everything damaged, it'd be taking out 4 Space Marines. That's all it could do in a shooting phase. 4 Space Marines. If you had a squad of 10, you know, that's barely anything. So, while it's, you know, it's good for what it is, it's not really winning you the game very well. Now, the Grav Carrier is a cool model. It's a pretty fun thing as well. It's basically, it's a larger sort of Land Raider, just sort of tougher than and less damaging. Because again, it's got the Blaze Cannon, it's also got the Lastrum Bolt Cannon. So again, this thing has a lot of sort of shots for light infantry, and that's not too bad. Like, it's gonna tank and it's gonna, you know, take out some infantry. But again, it's not gonna be winning you much of the game. It's more there for support. And that being said, it's got fly. It's still tough, like strength 12, and yeah, high wound counter. So being cheaper as well than the Land Raider, it might be a good choice for sort of rushing up these guys instead of bringing the Land Raider. But again, you're going to be missing out on las cannon, so it's an interesting trade-off. And lastly, what's going to be the backbone of the Force, the Custodes Grav Tank. Now this is probably one of the best tanks in the game, hands down, because like I said, your base is 2 to hit, and you've got a 2-up save and 5-up invuln with 14 wounds. That's pretty good. This is a strong tank, and it's got the blaze cannons. So this is the big problem with it, is not only does it have the heavy blaze cannons, which are amazing las cannons. You know, this thing's got a lot of las cannon shots, 4 las cannon shots that are even better because you've got the lethal hits against large. So that's cool. You know, this is incredible. But then again, it also has the accelerator cannon, which is insanely good against heavier infantry as well, being strength 10 and 3 damage. So again, you're gonna need sort of both of these in your army, because you're gonna need something for the heavy infantry, but you're also gonna need something for the vehicles and monsters. So you have to decide which of these you're doing, and it's a hard choice to make. So that's the thing, this tank takes up that role as being anti-large or anti-heavy infantry, but it can't be both. So yeah, it can be tricky deciding which is going to be most effective. I guess you got to play it game by game, tailor a little, which, considering you don't have much choice, you sort of have to tailor in this case. So yeah, it just makes things a lot trickier to work out what's going to be more effective and what you need more. So for 1500 points exactly, this is what we have for our army, led by an Inquisitor, because that's the cheapest option. I needed those extra 20 points and not have the Knight Centura being 75 points. I couldn't have her as the Warlord. I needed something cheaper to make way for the Land Raider. So let me break this down. We've got 3 of the grav tanks. Like I said, this is going to be the backbone of the army. This is what's going to do the most work. So, and like I said, you need something to take that role of anti-heavy infantry. So I've taken 2 of the accelerator cannons and take 1 of the heavy blaze cannon. Because at the same time, I've also got the Land Raider there. The Land Raider, you know, that's big, bulky, and with its las cannons, that's going to be anti-infantry, anti-large as well. So we've got 2 anti-large, 2 anti-heavy infantry options. Then with that in mind, we have the 3 grav attacks. Grav attacks are going to be fast, they're going to get around, they're going to do some harassment to light infantry, and then the grav carrier, you know, you can put that on a point, you can have it block line of sight in areas because it's a big model. So that's essentially going to go up the field, that's going to tank, and that's just, it's there to be a distraction. So this is how you get the most out of this army. Now, it's really not going to be supported by the rules, like I said, until you field the mini war and charge everything in, just so everything gets a extra rend and the extra critical hit. It's like you have to pick a turn, charge everything in to get the best out of it, which, you know, you really got to set that up, and if your opponent sees that it's coming, he's going to try and stop it, and at the end of that, you're not going to deal that much damage, because even though they're hitting on 2s with shooting, they're still hitting on 4s, because it's a vehicle, and vehicles don't hit on anything that isn't a 4 if it's a tank. But anyway, that's sort of how you gotta make the best of this situation. So I'll have to give this a try. I'm really not sure if this is gonna work. I have a feeling I'm not gonna have enough shots, I'm not gonna have enough firepower to take most things out. Like, it's a lot of strength, very accurate. This is very precision sort of army. We're surgeons, we're going in, we're cutting out exactly the thing we need to cut out, but are we gonna have enough? So yeah, like I said, this is a weird sort of codex we're getting where it takes the variety out of things. Like with Shield Host, what it used to do, you know, this list would be so much better. It's crazy to think that they really want to take away the variety of things you can do with it, because now it's pretty key to, you know, just bring a bunch of battle lines, bring a bunch of just custodians, you know, just spam out a lot of them, and that's going to be your focus. Don't worry about bringing the other stuff, they're not going to be as good. And it's like, well, why didn't you make a detachment where, yeah, I understand, you know, you don't want to put that much effort into maybe the tanks, but at least make one for the dreads. People really like the dreads, they're great models as well, but they didn't want to put that focus in either. So it's strange what they could have done, but they didn't, for no real reason. I don't understand why they could not put a little bit more thought into this, because the law's all there, you know, they have it. But yeah, anyway, I'll have to try this out in future. We got other stuff we got to print up first, so once I manage to get time to print up this army, you know, paint it all, I'm gonna have to go through so much gold paint to get this done, but it'll be worth it. I do really like the models. I think they're cool. I mean, and the grav tanks, last edition, like, grav tanks were deleting everything. They were one of the strongest tanks in 9th edition. They could just wipe out everything. That's what you sort of saw in most competitive Custodes lists. These grav tanks were, yeah, carrying the whole army in a lot of cases, so we'll see if that can still happen. Like, we just gotta believe hard enough. But that's it for this, guys. I'll let you guys know how it's going. Yeah, let me know what you thought about the Custodes codex. I think a lot of people are upset, but we'll wait and see how it turns out. Until then, see ya!